Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Ify and this is Ify Speaks. If you're joining this channel for the first time, you're very much welcome. Today we're going to be talking IELTS. I'm going to be giving you tips on how to pass your IELTS exam in one sitting and if possible, 1 week. If you'd like to learn more, please continue watching this video. Before I jump into the video, please do not forget to subscribe. It's just down there, it's free. Thank you. And also don't forget to comment and tell me about your IELTS experience if you've written IELTS before, and you can tell me about your difficulties. I can probably give you a relevant answer, and like the video. Okay, so let's jump right in. So a little backstory before I get into the tips. So I'm not a professional IELTS tutor or anything, but I have written IELTS twice for two different reasons. The first one, I needed an IELTS general. I wrote it in 2019. I applied for what I needed to use it for in 2020. The application is currently ongoing. It hasn't been approved yet. So I got tired of waiting for that process and I decided to write the IELTS academic, which I wrote about 14 days ago. That's 6th of November 2021. The result just came out yesterday. I wrote the IELTS academic for a different procedure entirely. So it's not like I didn't do fine in the first IELTS. I just needed a different module for what I'm trying to process currently. So my first IELTS, I had a band 8 overall. I had a 9 in listening, an 8.5 in reading, an 8 in speaking, a 7 in writing, yes. So I'm going to put the results. And then for my IELTS academic, I had a 9 in listening, a 9 in reading, a 7.5 in speaking, and a 6.5 in writing. Yeah, a little bit disappointing, but it's enough for what I needed for. What I needed for, I required just a 6.667. So this is actually more than enough. But I was a little bit. The big deal about my IELTS academic is that I prepared for it in 1 week. I registered for the exam exactly a week before 6th of November. I'm not sure. I think I registered on the 29th. Yes, 29th of October. So yes, it was a big deal to do that. But anyway, I would not lie, my previous experience with the general made me confident that I could actually do well in the academic. So the tips I'm going to be giving you are tips that I actually wrote in 2019 after my results came out. I was going to post it, or I did post it on an IELTS group that I was a part of. So I've used those tips in 2021 again, and most of it works. My biggest YouTube source of material for the IELTS exam was YouTube. I did a lot from YouTube. I did get videos from other sources, but a lot of my videos and materials, I just got them from YouTube. So for the first exam, I registered about 7 weeks earlier, but I actually spent only 4 weeks preparing, which was about a month to the exam. Well, the time frame was enough. I would not advise anyone who is writing for the first time to prepare for the exam in a week. It's genuinely risky. IELTS has tips and has tricks and a structure that you should follow. So if possible, at least 1 month, at worst 2 or 3 weeks. But a week is just you trying to play stunts like I did. So let's start with the tips. Tip number 1, just have it in mind that IELTS is a simple exam. I cannot overstate this enough. It's a simple exam. It's not a test of general knowledge. It's just a test of your ability to speak English. So if you can speak English, you're fluent, then you shouldn't be bothered. But if you can't, then you should work on your English enough to get you the required score. It's going to be difficult for anyone who is just learning English anyway. But for my fellow Nigerians, we speak English here every day, so you should be able to do well in the exam anyway. Okay, so that's the first tip, that IELTS is a simple exam. If you know you aren't very good, I'm reading from my tips notes sort of. If you know you aren't very good, have issues with spelling, etc., then please be very intensive with your preparation. So this was just me trying to say that you should, if you know you have areas where English is problematic for you, then you should try and make sure that you address those areas before the exam. If you have problems spelling, you should try and work on that also. For example, I have problems spelling words like necessary or access. Like I sometimes just forget whether it's double C or double S. Words like that stress me out. So before my exam, I try to remember how to spell those words I have issues with. So yes, the point is be intensive with your preparation, especially when you know that you're not very good at speaking English, because genuinely it's just an English exam. So point 2 is have an aim. An aim is very important. I'm not even joking. You have to genuinely have an aim. So let me read out what I wrote 2 years ago. Know what you're required to score while preparing, so you know when you are falling short. If possible, aim to max out every area. E.g. for immigration, that's the Canadian Express entry process. Calculate your CRS score with different Ielts results, so you know what you should aim for. So to be honest, your goal should be to max out every aspect. If you are required to get a 6 and you are aiming for a 6, it's very easy to fall short of a 6 and be on a 5.5. If you are aiming for an 8 and you're required to score a 6 and you fall to 7.5, I mean it's going to be enough, but if you are aiming for exactly what you are required to get, then really have an aim. If it's the Canadian Express entry process, go and calculate your CRS scores, know what you're supposed to score. If it's education and you're doing IELTS academic, if the school says get a 66, aim to get an 888. So point 3 is for my Nigerian brethren, because I feel like other countries, data is not a problem. And this is get data. So if you're someone that doesn't have data on your phone, please get data. You will find a lot of useful materials on the internet. You might have to download huge videos. You might have to watch long videos on YouTube. So please get data. I know it's... So point number 4 is watch all IELTS Lee's video. Very important. IELTS Liz is a popular IELTS tutor on the internet. She even has her own website. I don't know if she still posts actively on her website, because I think her last YouTube video was from many years ago. But she has all her videos on YouTube, and she has the functional website that you can watch videos on, or you watch them on YouTube and read tips. I think it's necessary to watch all her videos. She talks very calmly, she's very soft-spoken, and her points are very useful. So just, especially if you have enough time before your exam, probably you booked for 6 weeks ahead, you can use the first week to just watch all her videos and note down all her important tips for different areas. So the 5th point is for you to use the Cambridge materials to practice your reading and your listening. If you have any specific area of difficulty, go online and search that area. IELTS Lee's, Jay or Chris, there are many IELTS tutors online, but I've mentioned 3 that are very good. Have tips on specific areas. Other people too that are very good have tips on specific areas that you might be struggling with. So when I say Cambridge materials, you'll see many materials online. People come up with questions for IELTS, but to be honest with you, not all of them are good replicas of the IELTS exam. The best replica are Cambridge materials. They are exactly what the exam looks like. There are some materials that I used in the first time I was preparing, and I would answer some questions, and then I would fill the questions, and then the answers the writers would give would just seem weird, because it would seem like they are wrong, and the debater, are you sure this person knows what they are writing? But because they authored the question, you'll be like, maybe they are like, it's just so confusing. It's always better to use Cambridge to prepare. Use Cambridge to prepare for all modules, especially reading and listening. Okay, so tip 6 is specific to different aspects. That's listening. I'm going to start with listening. What listening needs is concentration. I'm reading from my tips. What listening needs is concentration. You can start with practicing and rewinding the tape. But please, after a couple of attempts, be honest with yourself. Do not rewind tapes. You can only help yourself if you are truthful. Cambridge listening is the standard, and if you can't access them, search YouTube for Cambridge 10 to 40 listening tests. They are all there. Make sure to write your answers in capital letters and to write exactly what the tape says. With practice, anyone can ace listening. I'm a good writer. Okay, that tip is just saying that you should practice with Cambridge materials, as I said earlier. I told you how I was struggling when I was practicing with the questions other people came up with. Please use Cambridge materials to practice. The materials, if you can't find them, if you're not on any group, they are online. You can just Google listening Cambridge 14, answer audio tape. You'll be able to download it, or just come on YouTube. I used to practice listening directly from YouTube. There are channels that just post the audio tape and the questions. So as you're watching the questions, it's like pictures, then you are listening to the audio, and it's the 40 minutes. There is no extra. That's it basically. So use Cambridge to practice. Now, another reason why you might not want to use Cambridge to practice is if you're having difficulty doing well in listening. Maybe you are practicing consistently and you're having trouble. You can use other people's listening, because those ones that are not standard, sometimes the tapes are very fast. And by the time you practice with something that is so difficult, by the time you go back to Cambridge, you find out that Cambridge is way easier. So if you can master those difficult ones that are not standard, that are not set to standard, then you can definitely master Cambridge audio tapes, which are very slow. So that's might be the only reason you might need to consider practicing with other listening questions that are not from Cambridge. Then rewinding of tapes. When you are practicing your listening, maybe in the beginning where you are still unsure of yourself and all that, you may want to rewind the tapes to try and make sure you can figure out the answer of the question. But honestly, after 2 or 3 tries of that, just do not do that. Do not rewind the tapes. Be realistic. Tell yourself the truth. If you are scoring 28/40, then you are scoring 28/40. Rewinding the tapes and getting 35/40 is just you deceiving yourself. It means that by the time you enter the exam hall, you are going to score 28/40 or even 26/40. Like, your practice is a real life representation of what you are going to get from the exam. To be honest with you, that's one good thing about IELTS. What you get in your practice is what you're likely going to get from the exam. So please do not spend time rewinding your tapes. Just practice. The more you practice, the better you get at doing well in listening. Another thing is concentration. That's another point I mentioned in what I read. Concentration is very important. When you start practicing for listening, it's very hard to concentrate. I know the first time I started practicing listening in 2019, the first 2 I wrote, I probably scored like 28/40. I was in shock. I couldn't explain it. Like, you would just be listening to tape, then your mind will wander off. You start thinking of the food you want to eat for lunch, or how you've not done this, or how you've not done that. And it was worse because when I started, I hadn't paid. I eventually paid, I told you, 7 weeks before the exam. Once I paid, I was able to control my mind. Let me tell you the truth. I was able to, say, if you focus, and I focus towards the middle, as it's getting more and more difficult, if your mind wanders off, you miss one question. When you come back to reorganize yourself, you've missed 2, you've missed 3. So please train your mind not to wander off. And if it does wander off, unfortunately for you, now this is where my experience comes in. In my IELTS academic, that's the one I wrote last 2 weeks, my mind wandered off. When I got myself back, I realized that I missed 2 answers to 2 questions. So I just forgot about those 2 and continued with the ones I could hear. And then, because I was so tense, I couldn't pick out the answers. What I started doing was I started writing down what the person was saying. If I hear anything, the key points, the tape is slow. So if I hear anything, the key points, I will just write it down. So when they will give you that brief moment to go over your answers, that was when I picked the answers to the questions. And I still scored a 9. That's because I had actually practiced. Do not dwell on anything you miss. Move on, because if as you're dwelling on it, you are losing answers to other questions. I prepared after 2 years. I prepared in a week and I still got a 9 in that listening. So that should tell you that I know what I'm talking about. I have to train your mind, use Cambridge, concentrate, do not dwell on any question you might have missed the answer to, and then go and learn specific areas you might be having difficulty with. I mentioned that in a point earlier. For some people, they have problem with map. I had my first preparation, I had problem with map, but luckily for me, map didn't come out in the exam. But by this one I wrote, I actually went to go and figure out map because I didn't want a problem with it. Then for listening, please always write what the audio tape says. Don't paraphrase, don't manufacture any answer except you don't know the answer, you're just guessing. Don't mind. Whatever the tape says is going to fit right into the question, so that's what you should do. It's only the OBJ, the ones that they've given you options for, that you should paraphrase, that will paraphrase. So you are just going to pick A or B or C or paraphrase. Write your answers in capital letter. You are going to write with a pencil. You are not allowed to take in a pen. Yeah, so I think I've covered everything on listening. If you have any questions, please ask me. I should be a listening pro. I got 9 twice. So okay. So for reading, let me read what I wrote 2 years ago. All tricky areas of reading have been dealt with on YouTube, as I said earlier. Trust me, you will understand any area after watching an online tutor. Time management is key. The aim is to finish in 40 minutes. So you have 20 minutes to go over your work. What I did was that I would read a paragraph, then go to the questions and answer any question whose answer can be found in that paragraph. There is no need going over the whole passage before reading questions. So, and I can call myself a reading guru. I know I can because my first reading in general was an 8.5, and then the academic, which is even more difficult than the general, I got a 9 after preparing in a week. So yes, you should actually listen to me twice actually. I said earlier, all tricky areas of reading have been covered on a YouTube tutorial. Now, the hardest part of reading for most people, especially for me when I started preparing, was true, false, not given, or yes or no, not given. Just go and search a true, false, not given video. You can watch Ielts Liz's video on that. Very helpful. I was having difficulty with true, false, not given. I watched her video and I practiced a couple of true, false, not given questions, and there was tremendous improvement. True means that you can find the answer in the passage. Yes, not in the question. When you read the passage, you can find the answer. It is clearly stated. False means that you can find it in the passage, but what is in the passage is directly opposite of what is in the question. It has to specifically contradict. Like if I say, if he came into the office wearing a yellow shirt, and in the question it says, if he came into the office wearing a red shirt, that is obviously wrong. No way I could have come into the office wearing a yellow shirt and still wearing a red shirt, man. So it's a no. But if it says if he came into the office wearing blue jeans, and then the question says if he came into the office wearing a yellow shirt, then the answer is not given because you can't find anything about a shirt in the passage. If you can't find it in the passage, then it's likely not false. The question is talking about a shirt and the passage is talking about jeans. That's completely, that is the basic idea between true, false, not given. Yes, no, not given is almost the same thing, but yes means that the question agrees with what the author of the passage was saying, which is almost the same thing as is true with what the passage was saying. No means that the question is directly opposite with what the author was saying, the author's opinion. While not giving still the same thing, the author didn't mention that. So this is just in terms of how the author, when you are reading a passage that was written by an author that is giving an opinion, that's the difference between the two. So it's basically the same concept. Finding matching headings, matching information, the tips are still on YouTube. Let's talk about time. While you're practicing for your reading, you have to genuinely aim to finish your reading in 40 minutes. In the exam hall, you have 1 hour. Use 40 minutes to write your reading and 20 minutes to go over your work. In general, when I was preparing for general and when I wrote the exam, that was very possible for me to do because general passages are quite easy. Academic passages are difficult. They are bulkier. That's okay. I don't think I've given you main differences between general and academic. I'll give that towards the end of the video. But the main difference between the two of them is actually reading. Reading for general has shorter passages that are easier to understand, while reading for academic, the passages are bulkier, they are long. We spend so much energy reading them. So it's important to practice up to the point that you can finish your passages in 40 minutes. I cannot overstate this. If you don't finish, you will not have time to go over your work. And to be honest, you are going to be sure of so many answers that are probably just wrong. General was easy. I was able to finish in 40 minutes. But for academic, during practice, I was finishing in 40 minutes. So in the exam hall, the last passage was so difficult. Oh my god, I spent time going over that work. I finished in, I remember, 51 minutes. So I only had 9 minutes to cover my work. So I had to practice and learn how to finish on time. 40, at most 50 minutes, because it's necessary to go over your work so that you're very sure of your answers. So that is for timing about. I don't think there is one standard strategy for reading, but let me give you mine that works for me. First strategy is to, if you're writing in general, please practice academic. Academic is so difficult that if you master academic, by the time you go back to answering general questions, it will be very easy for you. This tip only works for those that are writing general. I mean, if you're writing academic, then you can only practice academic. That was one of the reasons actually that writing the exam the second time around in a week was quite possible for me, because I had actually, when I started preparing for the first exam, I did not know that there was a difference between general and academic, and I was just practicing anyone that came my way. And I was practicing a lot of academic reading. So by the time I had mastered academic reading, by the time I realized there was a difference. And sometimes I could even finish general reading during practice in 35 minutes out. So for those in general, this is a great strategy, especially when you're finding it difficult, because the moment you master academic, don't run away from it, it's more difficult. The moment you master it, general is going to seem like child's play. And then strategy number 2 is in order to save your time, in order to actually be finishing in 40 minutes like I do, please don't spend time reading the whole passage, then coming back to look at the questions, because you will still go back to the passage again. The passage is for you to understand, no doubt, but the aim of understanding is so you can answer the questions that has, and the questions are very short, so they are easy to read. You can read a question 20 times, and someone that is reading the passage will still be on the passage number. You read the paragraph number 1, you go and look for the questions that relate to paragraph number 1, check for the answers and answer it. And most of the time, Ielts answer their questions paragraph by paragraph. If you find the answer of question number 1 in paragraph 1, you find the answer of question number 2 in paragraph 2. Like, it tends to follow sequentially, except for things like maybe matching information, matching headings that will not necessarily follow paragraph, because your brain is fresh from paragraph number 1. It's easy to find the answers. You don't know anything that is in the other paragraphs, they will not come and be confusing your brain. You will know what you are looking for. Even matching headings and matching information. When you read paragraph number 1, the only information in your brain currently is paragraph number 1. You go and look at the questions, and you see that answers, the matching information, the information that is paragraph number 1, you might find it in question number 20, and you are answering from question number 15. There is all that information. You read that and say, okay, you don't know what this other question is talking about. Immediately, you're going to be able to identify the answer from paragraph number 1. So read one paragraph, go and look at the questions, find the answer, select the answer in your answer sheets. Read paragraph number 2. That's the main information in your head again. Your head is fresh with information from paragraph number 2. Look for the questions, look for the answers. And 8.5 and 8.9. So I think I know what I'm talking about. So if you have any questions or anything, please don't forget to leave them down below. And please, I've talked a lot, my throat is getting dry. Subscribe and like. So we're going to go to the next one. So the next tip is on speaking. Now, the secret to speaking, my people, this is a very short tip, is marker cue cards. Let me read what I wrote. Marker cue cards is the key. Yes. I used the day before my exam to go through the card. I came up with a story for each scenario. During the interview, I already had the story for part 2, because I had previously seen the question. Be confident, speak clearly. It's a test of English, not knowledge. If you know you make a lot of grammatical errors, spend a lot of time practicing, keep the conversation going, smile. I do remember all the tips I had rehearsed with, but I'm a good English speaker, so I still aced it. I press myself a lot. The trick is marker cue cards. Marker cue cards are this material. Is a material, I think marker, MAKKAR, yes, made in India. A lot of times, your question that you're going to answer is in the marker cue cards. I wrote my exam in November. I downloaded marker cue cards from September to December, and the question was in the marker cue cards. I'm not even joking. But unfortunately for me, the second time around, I didn't read the cue cards to the end. I didn't have enough time to card. I was reading it to, I think I got to page 70, but unfortunately for me, I didn't get to the parts that had my question. It was when I came out of the exam hall. I opened the thing, and I saw the question. It was towards the end. So please use marker cue cards. They work. That's the best advice I can give you for the speaking. Yes. The first time around, I used marker cue cards, and the question that they asked me was inside. I had prepared for that question. I'm not even joking. Yes. So that's the number one strategy. Use the marker cue cards. Then number two is try not to pause. When you are doing your speaking, try to just flow. It's a conversation. If you are pausing in your conversation, what is telling the examiner is that you are lost for words. In other words, you can't speak English. So just be talking. Be speaking correct English, but be talking. I think I'm in a good position to give tips on speaking. I got an 8 and a 7.5. Not as fantastic as a 9, but very good. But I'm a good speaker, honestly. I don't know why this examiners not give me 9. Try not to pause. Keep the conversation going. Watch Ielts videos. She gives you ideas on how to answer these questions. Read the marker cue cards. They give you ideas on how to answer these questions. If you're not from India, obviously, the answers they will give will be weird because they're from India. So, but you can restructure them to Nigeria, whatever country you're from, and give the appropriate answers. Let your answers not be short. The first questions, your answer should be a medium length. What am I saying? Of medium length. Then for the part two, you are given 1 minute to prepare. You give me the question paper. You then write key points that you want to speak on, and then after 1 minute, you are given 2 minutes to speak, and the examiner cuts you off. When it is endeavor to speak till they cut you off, please. The strategy you can do is when you write your key points, try and say at least 5 sentences on those key points. Now there are some tutors that will say you don't have to follow the speaking questions directly, because there are always going to be questions in part 2 that they feel you should answer in the main question, while answering the main question. While some people say you should follow it, I don't know what is the right thing to do, but I try to make sure I answer those questions while in my key points, then give 5 sentences on those key points. But the important thing is try to make the conversation flow. Use a variety of words. Let the examiner know that you can speak English. Immerse English. I'm speaking for right now, but like she hears you, she's gonna be like, motherfucker can speak English. Just try and be calm. Like, it's a conversation. They just want to know that you can speak English. And if they ask you abstract questions, you can lie. You can come up with a story. And it's even okay to still say you do not have any idea about something. Then you go on to talk about the one you have idea about. Like, for example, someone says, do you own a basket? That's weird. But have you ever gotten an award before? And you've not gotten an award, you don't have to be short of words and be like, I've not gotten an award. You don't know what to say. No, you don't have to do that. You can't lie and say I've gotten an award before. If you can't lie and can't come up with a story at that moment, you can say, oh yeah, I've not gotten an award before, but my sister has, and she got an award based on cooking. That's still a relevant answer. I'm coherent. They understand what I'm talking about. I've answered the question, gone ahead to add extra talk, and I have spoken proper English. That tip that I might have forgotten is when you're preparing for your marker cue cards, if you're someone like me now, when I'm doing oral exams, and oral exams, and I'm asked a question I do not know the answer to, I just go blank. That was why it was important for me to prepare with those marker cue cards and come up with scenarios to answer all the questions. So if you're someone like me, that's why it's important to practice with the cue card. So you have scenarios for every situation, very, very vital, so that you're not short of words. That's a very good way of doing well in speaking. Remember, it's a conversation. Be calm. Watch Ielts video. She gives great tips. Some people do what some people say stop watching Nigerian movies when you're preparing for the exam, but I won't lie, I didn't stop. I never stopped. I stopped. I want to watch. I will even watch Korean movies. I don't watch Korean movies, but I'll probably watch if I found one interesting and I had an error exam the next day. I don't care about those things. But not everyone is like me. Maybe you are addicted to Yoruba movies. Before you go and be talking inside Ielts and you say, please. if you know that those things really affect the way you talk, try and stay away from them. If possible, you can be reading Chimamanda Adichie books, like her diction is amazing. You can get a partner, the person be asking you questions, use it to practice. It's very good. You can try, if you don't have someone to do that with, you can try using a recorder, record yourself on your phone, listen to your mistakes and try and work on them. Speaking, if you have any more questions, please leave them below and I will answer them. I genuinely will. So let's move on to writing my enemy. So our last tip is on writing. Well, let me read my writing tip. The aim is to learn a good essay and letter structure and stick to it. That's for general. Different tutors with different style. Join Ielts groups so that other people can review your essays. Watch YouTube tutorials, watch their videos, learn tips. Make sure to write more than the required number of words. Be coherent and logical. Think of relevant ideas and expatiate well. Most importantly, know your ability and practice depending on that. For writing, also expand your vocabulary. Try not to repeat words within a sentence. When practicing, learn new words from the dictionary to help you paraphrase well. Try writing long sentences. If you know you have issues with coherence and spelling, make sure you have improved before your exam. So for writing, I don't feel like I'm the strongest point to give tips on writing, but to be honest, this second time around I had 1 week to prepare, and this writing format is a little bit different from the first one I had done. And I'm in one Ielts group, and the Ielts group is full of so many people. It's like I think about 40,000 people on that group. It's on Telegram. So whatever you write is just wrong. Nobody's critiquing your essays. It wasn't a closed group. The first time I prepared, I was in a very small group and there was someone taking his time to critique my essays. So I feel like that was why I did better than the second time around. Second time around I rushed. I didn't have anybody to critique my essays. I was critiquing them myself. I would try to compare them with sample answers on the internet. I don't think I did badly. I feel if I remark, I'll probably get up to a 7 or who knows, a 7.5. But there is no need for that because my score is enough for what I need for. I just need a 6 and I have a 6. Learn writing structures. For your general, you are writing a letter and you're writing an essay. Learn good essay structures, learn good letter structures. There are many books on the internet. Watch videos from Liz, from Jay, from Chris. Learn their structures, join groups, let people critique your essay. It's very important. Then try and be logical. Paraphrasing is very important in writing. Make sure you paraphrase well. A lot of your essay, usually the first paragraph of your essay involves paraphrasing the question. So you have to learn how to paraphrase. While practicing, try and be googling synonyms of different words. So it helps build your vocabulary. It's always important to try and start with your essay because it contains more points. You have I think about 65 points from that, while the other one is about 5 points. So always try and start with that, then finish off with part 1, because if you don't finish part 1, you will not fail the exam. But if you don't finish part 2, point number 10 is you can get a physical tutor if you're not sure of yourself. One thing people ask me after my first exam was, oh, do I think they need a tutor? And I would say it honestly depends on you. You know, I don't know how you speak English. I don't know how well you write. You might actually need a tutor. So don't follow because this person didn't do tutor, because if you wrote in 1 week and did well, or because it's honestly your personal journey, because it's dependent on how well you can use English. So during the exam, many people that are writing for the first time are not aware that there is no bathroom break during the exam, except I think during reading. Yeah, you can take bathroom break during your reading exam. Let me start with how the exam goes. The first exam you write is your listening, then you're reading, then you're writing. You do speaking on a different day, except CBT, badly. And the only time to pee was during reading. And you cannot go in the last 10 minutes of your reading exam. You can only go during the first 15 minutes. So that might be a problem for you if you have not finished your reading. What is that problem again? I think you can't go during listening, obviously, because you have to listen to the tape that everybody's listening to. I don't think you can go during writing, I'm not sure. But anyway, peeing is a big problem for me. So what I did the second time around is I wore a trouser that was loosely fit around my waist, so it would not press my bladder. Then as soon as I got into the hall, I pulled my zip down, used my top to cover the trouser. So in the second time, I did not have to pee at all. For the major difference between your general and your academic, for general, the reading, as I said earlier, the passages are shorter, they're easier to understand, easier anyway. While for the academic, the passages are bulkier, they are bulky, they are long, so it's completely different types of passages. Then for your listening is the same, your speaking is the same, but your writing for general, you write a letter in task 1, and in academic you do an analysis of a chart, either a bar chart, a pie chart, a diagram, and other types of charts. They can give you a line chart or something. Then for the task 2 of academic, the questions are more academic based, they are more serious essays, questions are more serious, while for task 2 of general, the questions are simpler for you to the questions they are not as academic based, they're just simpler. So those are the major differences between general and academic, your reading and your writing. So just like me, when I was preparing for the second time around, I tried to focus on those 2. If need be, please do not write it in a week, except you're writing it for the second time like me and you're sure of yourself. Please do not write it in a week. Try and write it in 2 or 3 or 4. 1 month, and 1 month is definitely more than enough to prepare for the exam. Take your time to prepare the exam. Thank you for watching my video. Please like and subscribe. I've spoken a lot and my throat is itchy. So I deserve a subscription for this. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section below. I am going to answer your questions. Just the exam cost 79,000 naira with the IDP MOD. I think British Council cost 83,000. Those are the 2 bodies that issue the exam here in Nigeria. Their questions are the same. Questions are not hard. But many people say IDP MOD, the markers, examiners are easier. I don't know if that's true. I wrote with IDP anyway, and that's just like it's because it's cheaper. That's why I wrote with them. That's why I wrote with them first time, and I'm used to them, so I wrote with them second time. That's pretty much it. But I think IDP is having registration issues currently in Nigeria, so I hope they figure that out. So yeah, those are the tips. I hope you've enjoyed my video as I've enjoyed making it. So I'll see you in my next video. Thank you for watching.